Every so often, somebody tells me that they used ChatGPT or some other AI tool to PID tune their quadcopter. And my first reaction is, that's dumb. That doesn't seem like it's even possible. And I suspect that ChatGPT is just saying smart sounding things like it always does, and then giving you terrible advice, and then like placebo effect, maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, maybe it's a coin toss. I don't think it can really PID tune. But I've got this quad, and I want to PID tune it. And anytime somebody makes a radical claim that makes me go, that's dumb, that's impossible, I could at least test it out, right? That's what we're doing this video. We're going to use AI to PID tune this quad. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. Before we get into the video, let me make my case for why I'm skeptical that AI or large language models can PID tune a quadcopter. It's not just me being a sort of curmudgeon and like new technology coming along and me going, shaking my fist at it, you know, old man yells at cloud fashion. Large language models and all sort of artificial intelligence, machine learning, the way that they work is that they are trained on a certain data set. So like, let's say you wanted to have a large language model that could tell the difference between pictures of dogs and cats. And in fact, one of the earliest AI projects was a project of visual identification, similar to that, telling dogs from cats. And the way it works is you feed the model a data set, which is a bunch of labeled pictures. Like this is a picture of a dog, this is a picture of a cat. This is a dog, this is a cat. And after it sees so many of them, it can tell the difference. It knows dogs look like this, cats look like that. And that's very, very general and very simplistic, but that is more or less how large language models and AI work. The problem arises when the AI is presented with a piece of data that isn't consistent with the data set that it was trained on. So for example, large language models are very, very good at coding. And the reason that they're good at coding, one of them is that they have a massive body of knowledge. There are so many projects that are public on GitHub. The source code is there for everyone to see. Every website is public. You just download the website and there's the whole thing. So there's these massive data sets that they can learn from. So when you ask them to do something, there's a pretty good chance that they have seen something like it. And they're very, very good at putting together those pieces into making what seems like completely original, completely novel solutions, but they're not. I'm skeptical that large language models have been trained on Betaflight black box logs or iNav or whatever black box logs. And I'm skeptical that the things that they have been trained on are generalizable enough or similar enough that they're going to be able to produce good results. Now, there may be some things that they can do. For example, one of the things you do when you tune a quadcopter is you tune the filters. And the concept of filters, the concept of taking gyro data and breaking it down into frequency components and then filtering it, those are concepts that I could see a large language model being successful at. But PID tuning, I think, is going to be much harder. I'm frankly skeptical that it could even understand the contents of a black box log. Oh, well, I guess I was right. They can't. Huh, video over? Far from it. And it says, yes, it can parse and analyze iNav black box logs, but it admits that it cannot directly ingest a raw binary TXT file, which I wouldn't have thought that it could. Okay, but then it gives me some tips for how I can get the information to it. And one of the things it says is to give me the header information. So here is the black box file opened in a text editor. And if I just grab this header information here, boom, Control C, Control V. I'm going to guess that it's going to do an okay job at parsing this. This is correct, this is correct, this is correct, and this is correct. These are, I don't know, are they standard starting points? This is the starting PIDs for a 7-inch. It's the iNav 7-inch preset. They wouldn't be standard starting points for a 5-inch, and it doesn't know what size drone I have, but they're a fairly standard starting point. It's one of the iNav presets. It says the D term is moderate. Well, it's literally the starting preset, so, you know, it's just probably pretty normal. Well, I should hope that's correct. That is the default preset. This is relatively low. If this is a 5-inch build, this might feel, if it's a larger 7 to 10-inch, that is correct. That 75 Hertz gyro LPF was set based on iNav's recommendation in their quick tune for 10-inch props. D-term LPF. This is a neutral observation. Again, I didn't change this. Dynamic notch is enabled, fine. This is an interesting observation. With bidirectional DSHOT, motor RPM is reported immediately after the flight controller sends the DSHOT packet to the ESC. The ESC responds with a report of its current RPM. In addition, it is reported every single packet time. Every single time the flight controller sends a DSHOT packet, the ESC responds with its RPM. With ESC telemetry-based RPM reporting, it is a separate process that's doing the polling, and that process can be delayed relative to the motor outputs. And in addition, ESC telemetry is pulled in a round-robin fashion, so the flight controller polls ESC 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the update frequency is much slower. The Betaflight devs' position is that the way iNav does it, I'm not trying to put words in their mouth, but my impression is that they didn't do it. They invented bidirectional DSHOT specifically so they could do it the way they could do it. They could have done it the way iNav did it and decided not to, presumably because they felt it was inadequate. iNav's position, obviously, is that it works fine. I've always left RPM filtering off on iNav for that reason, because I kind of believe the Betaflight devs when they say that the way iNav does it basically doesn't work. Well, Gemini's found another mistake that I made. On Betaflight, the raw gyro data or the unfiltered gyro data is recorded automatically in recent versions. I forgot that iNav doesn't do that. You have to set the flight controller to record that data manually. Oh, well, here's the first major flub for the AI. Set debug mode equals, and gyro scaled is not there. Is there anything that might resemble gyro scaled? There isn't. I'm going to guess it's because it records it automatically, but let me just ask it. That's what Betaflight calls it, by the way. I think maybe it's a little confusing. Or, aha! Yes, it's on a new iNav 9 thing. Gyro raw captures directly from any software filtering. Set debug mode equals gyro raw, except I'm pretty sure it's already doing that. Debug mode is set to none. No, it's gyro raw isn't there either. However, if we look at the file and we try to add graph, custom graph, we actually see gyro raw is there. So I think what's happened is that iNav also automatically records the raw gyro data because it knows that we're going to want it. Is there data here? Yeah. So it's already done that. I don't need to set up the debug mode. And this is the kind of place where AI kind of trips over its own feet, but I feel like it's okay because like it says do this thing and I go to the CLI and like obviously it's wrong and I'm like okay, get back on track. It's when it like claims to do something and it just is completely off left field and I can't tell that it gets really frustrating. So far though, it's doing pretty good. What I need to do is I need to export this stuff. How can I export the data for you to analyze, the gyro data? Export snippet, open it in Blackbox Explorer. I've done that. So here's the file, and I need to export it as a CSV. But I don't think that iNav can do that. I know Betaflight Blackbox Explorer does it. Yeah, no, it's not there. I have to use the Blackbox Tools package. The first step of any PID tune is to get your filters set correctly. You don't touch your PIDs until you've got your filters optimized. And the goal with filters is always to get the filters to filter just enough, but no more than is necessary. That 75 Hertz setting is a default based on the approximate RPM of a 10-inch prop. And if we can push it higher, we definitely should. So he wants the header, but I already gave him the header. Here's the CSV. The header is the same as above. The real litmus test here. Let's see if it can really do what it claims to be able to do. Because analyzing the gyro data requires some mathematics. And originally, large language models didn't really do math. They just predicted text and tried to sound, well, coherent maybe is the word for it. Maybe not. But now large language models have all kinds of back-end tools. They can write code. They can do all kinds of math and charting. And here is what it's given me. It does look like it created a frequency chart from the CSV. That's something. That's pretty cool. Primary noise peak at 166, 242, 167. Very clean below 100 Hertz. We're also not doing noise versus throttle. The noise is throttle dependent. So looking at noise versus throttle like blackbox does, well, like it should do if it wasn't bugging out, can be very useful. Like this is just a graph of frequency over time without showing throttle. Okay, fine. I'll enable RPM filtering, you piece of... Wait, iNav doesn't do bidirectional DSHOT, does it? Does iNav use bidirectional DSHOT for gyro RPM filtering? Let's see, this is from 2020. Someone's requesting that it support bidirectional DSHOT for gyro filtering. If we go to the bottom of the page, did they add it? No, feature hasn't been added. Bidirectional DSHOT and RPM filtering, is it really necessary? Oh, this is a conversation I had. iNav doesn't support bidirectional DSHOT. And basically, he's arguing it's fine, barely. Okay, I'll turn it on, fine. But Gemini is wrong. Does iNav support bidirectional DSHOT? Oh, it's thinking for a long time on this one. We really doesn't know. While it's doing that, I'll go ahead to iNav and I'll set up those. All right, so we've got ESC telemetry enabled, and we have got, in the filters, we have gyro RPM filter enabled. Okay, and then it also wants me to raise my RPM filter to 120 hertz. Nothing to do but go fly it. I'm just going to listen for any signs of gyro problems. Okay, I don't hear any trilling. Hard to say whether it feels better. The next thing that happened was that Gemini requested I upload the pre-filter raw gyro data from both flights so it could compare them to see if any change had occurred, which is dumb because changing the filters won't change the pre-filter data at all. But I gave it what it wanted. RPM filter is not working. That's because you're looking at the pre-filter data. You asked for raw pre-filter gyro data. Is that what... I thought you asked for wanted? Is that what you wanted? I'm not going to give it too many clues. Like, yeah, obviously the pre-filter data looks the same. When I change the filtering, it's only going to affect the post-filter data. Why would the RPM filter affect the pre-filter gyro data at all? Man, I'm about to learn something. Yeah, the whole point of looking at the pre-filter gyro data is that you want to see the noise profile of the quad, so then you can set your filters to match. If you're looking at the post-filter data, you can't tell what it's filtering out and what it's leaving behind. Uh-huh, that's correct. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh, that's correct. Uh-huh, okay. That is accurate. It would be nice to be able to confirm that it was actually getting ESC telemetry. Yes, I do have that physical wire. Can I just give you the whole goddamn file? How big is the file? It's 25K. Okay, surely it can take the whole file. Here's the second file with RPM filtering enabled and gyro low pass raised to 120 hertz. Let's see what it makes of this. Just hand it the two files and let it do the extracting of data. Oh, whoops! Did I screw up and give it bad data? I screwed up. I'm sorry. I gave you bad data. Wow. Okay. That's my bad. We'll do it again. Okay. No, don't give me see, look, it's just always gonna, do some things. No, just say, hey, can I have that file that you wanted? Supposedly complete. A little passive aggressive. I'm now focused on the new supposedly complete. Okay, I screwed up. I guess humans make mistakes too, AI. AI has finally achieved a human level of intelligence. It screws up as often as we do. Oh, I'm sure pleased. Reduce noise power by 6%. That's not that much. Also, why would raising the filter... Oh, the RPM filter is cleaning it up, but I see. Okay. Confirm changes how you decrease your system's latency with lowering the noise floor. Here's the breakdown. Static invalid. Confirms it's working. That's nice. It's confirmed that the ESC RPM filter is working. Good. I wasn't sure that I had the correct UART. Okay, great. Flight file, yada, yada, yada. This is all, this is all speculation. Filters are working perfectly. Don't go higher. Okay, fair enough. Focus on PID tuning. That's exactly what I'm going to do next. Fantastic. But here's the thing about AI. It always kind of sounds like it knows what it's talking about, but that doesn't mean it's right. In order to check Gemini's results, I have downloaded and installed this tool. It's called PIDToolbox, and it is specifically for doing the kind of analysis that we're doing, but doing it by hand. And what we're looking at here is the spectral analysis of these two flights. We've got both the gyro and the pre-filter gyro, so both pre and post filters of the two flights. And basically the difference between this line and these two lines are the effect of the changes that we made. Now, if we look at the pre-filter data, we really shouldn't see much difference at all because nothing changed about the physical makeup of the quad. There's going to be little variations just because there always are, but basically those two lines should be the same unless we like changed the frame or we changed a motor or we changed props or something that would change the actual vibrations that the quad is experiencing. But these lines, we should see a difference as the effect of our filters. And one thing that I do see is a decrease around 100 hertz. I wish we could zoom in on this a little bit. Can we? Yes, we can. Oh, I don't use PIDToolbox very much. Let's zoom in right here. We've got a dip here around 100 hertz-ish, and that should be log 11 is the solid line. That is presumably our RPM filter at work. That is presumably our motor frequency. And if we go back, we see the raw noise peak on roll. What frequency does it talk about? It's talking about the raw noise at 166 and 242 is eradicated in the filtered signal. 165 hertz peak. Let's see, 165 hertz peak in the raw noise. Is that accurate? Kinda, I guess. That's about right. The peak is hard to say for sure, but we've got kind of one hump around 160 hertz, I guess, and then one hump closer here around 325. Those are going to be our motor harmonics. That's about right. The total noise power I don't really care about as much, I don't think. And we do see that the red line, that is the post-filtering line, is consistently lower, although we've raised the gyro filter, but we've added motor filtering, so it's hard to say exactly how that is going to sort of cancel out. The other thing I want to see is frequency over throttle. And I think this spectrogram view is the single best way to find out what's really going on. You see these diagonal lines here? Like right here and right here and right here. So that graph is showing us frequency versus throttle position. So as the throttle goes up, the motor RPM goes up and the frequency goes up. So basically we see this diagonal line because the motor always goes faster as the throttle goes up, and then the intensity of the color is how intense the vibration is. And what we should see is a reduction in that, and we absolutely do see that. So the fact that those diagonal lines are sort of getting damped down tells us that the RPM filtering is working, and we see sort of more. We also see a reduction down here. What is that? I mean, like, we raised the low pass frequency, the cutoff, so we should see theoretically more noise down here at below 100 hertz, but we sure don't. It's really effectively filtered. I'll be damned. Gemini did it. This is better. This is just better. We were able to raise our gyro low pass, which means we have less latency and a more responsive, more locked in feel, which normally also results in more noise and more hot motors. But Gemini advised me and admonished me to turn on RPM filtering, even though I've been hesitant to do that in the past. And it seems like it was right. The next thing to do is to tune the PIDs. We've got the filters somewhere half decent. We need to tune the PIDs. And that is going to be a topic for the next video in this series. I can think of a bunch of other things I want to test out with AI, including, like, this is iNav. What about Betaflight? Would it work just as well? This is a big 10-inch. How would it work on a 5-inch or a racing drone? And there's also a tool out there that's specifically designed for PID tuning with AI, as opposed to just using a general purpose language model. These are all things that I might get into in the future. And if I do, I'm going to put them in a playlist linked in the video description below. But definitely, I'm going to go on and do the PID tuning for this bird at the very least. And that's going to also be linked in the playlist in the video description below. I'll see you there.